I love testing makeup and discovering the next best thing, but there are products that I come back to time and time again. Today, I want to share with you products that I consider my holy grail products as a fair olive combo oily girly from start to finish. So without further ado, let's get started. So I have my moisturizer and my sunscreen on, and I've let that soak in for a few minutes. And the first product that we're gonna go into is primer, and we're gonna be using the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Blurring Balm Powder. I'm just grabbing the tiniest amount on the back of my finger. And less is more when you're using this product. And I'm just going to use this product in the oiliest of areas. So for me, that's my T-zone, so the top of my forehead, around my nose, and then on my chin. And I'm just gonna massage that in. And then whatever is left on my fingers, I just like to feather it out. I love this product because it's hydrating enough that it's not greasy, and it controls oil and maintains the freshness of my makeup throughout the day. I literally cannot do my makeup without this. This is such a great product. If you are a combo oily or oily skin girly and you haven't given this a try, you are missing out. So we're gonna go into our next holy grail product, which is foundation. And I'm going to be using the Natasha Denona Hy-Glam foundation in the shade Y1. This product is actually a new discovery for me. Normally, I have used the Triclone Skin Tech Foundation by Haus Labs and also the IT Cosmetics CC Cream, but I find that this foundation is a better shade match for me, and it's also long wear as well. Okay, so I just have one pump on my hand, and I'm just going to dot this all over my face. And we're just starting off with a small amount. I still have quite a bit on my hand, and I'm going to buff it out with a brush. And as a fair, warm olive girly, it is so incredibly difficult to find a good shade match for foundation, just because a lot of the lighter shades can end up either really orangey or really pink. And I find that this Y1 shade specifically is the perfect shade to match with my neck. I also really like how it's really lightweight. So now that we're going into warmer weather, this foundation is a lot more comfortable to wear compared to my other foundations. Okay, so that is the first layer of foundation done, and I still have quite a bit left, so I'm going to use whatever is left on the back of my hand to build up coverage in the areas that I need more coverage. So that's mostly in the center of my face. And this foundation is so pigmented, and it also has a bit of a light reflecting quality, so I basically end up using a lot less than my other foundations. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in with the sponge, and I'm going to work that second layer in. And after all of that, I still have a tiny bit left on my hand, but I don't think I need it, and we're gonna move on to concealer. The next product is concealer, and I'm going to be using my Tower 28 Serum Concealer in the shade BW. So BW is a new shade that Tower 28 has released, and it is a fair olive shade, which is fantastic because, again, it's really hard to find fair olive shades in any makeup range. So when I saw this, I had to have it. I do have the Natasha Denona concealer, but now that it's getting a little bit warmer, I like to use the Tower 28 concealer instead because it's just a little bit more lightweight, whereas the Natasha Denona concealer is a little bit more on the hydrating side, and I prefer to use that during the colder seasons. So I'm gonna go in with my concealer, and I'm going to use this in the areas that need a little bit of extra help. And sometimes when I'm extra lazy, I'll just use this concealer and swipe it all over my face and just use it as like a lazy girl foundation. Now that I have spread that all over my face, I'm gonna go in with my sponge and I'm going to smooth everything out. Okay, so that is the concealer applied. So now that the base is done, I'm gonna go in with the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Setting Powder in the shade Pound Cake. And I'm gonna use this to set my entire face. And this powder is definitely a holy grail product for me because it's so finely milled and it just looks so blurring and smoothing underneath the eyes. And it really helps to control oil and shine throughout the day as well. So if you have combo oily to oily skin, this powder is absolutely amazing and it never looks cakey and it never looks heavy. Yeah, this powder is amazing. Okay, so I'm taking a powder brush and I'm going into the powder again. And this time I'm gonna use the powder to get the perimeter of my face and any other areas that I might have missed. And if I'm being really nitpicky here, the only thing that I don't love about this powder is that it's really messy. But that pretty much applies to any loose setting powder. And I'm just basically sweeping off any extra powder that might have accumulated on my face. All right, so this is the face powdered. Now we're going to bring back color to my complexion. And we're gonna start off with a bronzer. And this is the same single blusher in Cloudy Brown. I don't know why they call it a single blusher, because it's more of a bronzer instead. But I love this color because it's like a khaki brown, so it has green undertones in there and it complements my skin tone, whereas a lot of the bronzers in the North American market are quite orangey, or at least they can pull orangey on my fair olive skin. So I got this on yesstyle.com. It's really hard to get. Sometimes they have it available, sometimes they don't, but I'll see if I can find a link and I'll post it down below in the description box. Okay, so I picked some up on my brush and I'm going to start with my forehead. Okay, so I'm gonna take my brush and I'm going to run it over my eyes, just so that I can get a more cohesive look. And I'm going to take a bit on my nose as well. Okay, so this is the bronzer applied and it just looks really natural. Okay, so now that we have our bronzer on, I'm going to move on to a powder contour, and I'm gonna go ahead and use the dasique V-Cut Blending Shading. This is in the shade Cool Blending, and I also purchased this from yesstyle.com. It's really hard to find a contour shade that works for my skin tone, especially in powder form. So I'm just taking my brush and I'm just swirling the entire palette. And I'm just gonna add this to the sides of my face. And because I have more of a rounder cheek, instead of cutting a line into it, I'm going to focus on shading the back of the jaw and then pushing that color forward. So I don't know if you can tell, but this is the side where I've added the contour, and I feel like it's just slimming enough to help balance my face. Now there is a powder contour available at Sephora, and it's the powder contour in Fair to Light. So this is technically my backup product if I don't have my dasique palette. But as you can see, this is really cool toned, whereas this is a little bit more neutral. And yes, this works just as well as this, but I find that the dasique palette is a little bit more forgiving, whereas this is quite pigmented, so I recommend a light hand. But this is literally the only powder contour product that I can find in Canada. So I'm just going to do the other side. And one thing I really like about this product is that It's really hard to over apply. So if you're extra tired in the morning, or you just have a lot on your mind, or you just want to get your makeup over and done with, it's just such an easy product to apply and you don't really have to think about it. All right, so that is the contour done. It is now time for blush, and we're gonna use an absolute favorite of mine. This is the NARS blush in Impassioned. So it's a neutral to cool toned light pink. It's just so complimentary to fair olive skin. And it's light enough for a fair person to wear. And it's one of those products that is really difficult to over apply. But at the same time, it's buildable as well. So if you're prone to over applying blush and you just want a really safe, soft color, this is the blush to try. And I also like how it's matte, so you can really control how much shine you want to add afterwards. And I also like to take this onto the bridge of my nose and also the tip. All right, so there it is. There's the blush. So I'm looking a little matte, and I want to add some luminosity to my cheeks. So I'm going to go into the Fenty Beauty Demi'glow highlighter. And this is my most favorite highlighter in the entire world. But I don't think it's available anymore on Sephora or the Fenty Beauty website, which is so unfortunate because this is honestly such a good formula. It's a really soft powder, but it packs a punch, and the color is absolutely beautiful. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a little bit of the powder onto my brush, tap off the excess, and I'm just gonna target the high points of my cheeks. And this is one of those highlighters that is really hard to tell where it starts and ends, and it just melts into the skin, and it's so beautiful. And I really hope that Fenty Beauty re-releases this and makes it permanent, because it's honestly the best highlighter I have ever used in my entire life. Now, I do have an alternative, which is the Fenty Beauty Killawatt Highlighter Duo in Lightning Dust and Fire Crystal. So this highlighter is part of Fenty Beauty's permanent line. And the color is pretty close. It's just that the texture isn't the same. I would say that this texture is a little bit more stiff, so I have to really like get my brush in there, but the payoff is just about the same. But there's just something about this Demi'glow formula that's so unique. So I'm just adding this to the tip of my nose, and I'm gonna target under my eyebrows as well. All right, so there's the highlighter. Like, look at that shine. Okay, so now that the face is pretty much done, I'd like to go into eyebrows now. And I like to use two products. So the first product that I'm going to use is the NYX Micro Brow Pencil in black. And this is probably like my 10th one that I've used. I love that it's a drugstore brand, so it's like super affordable, and it's like really precise so that I can really get in there and get exactly the shape that I want. And then I'm gonna use the brush on the other side to help soften those lines. And I'm also gonna try to use the brush to scrape away some of that foundation and powder on the front of my eyebrows. Okay, we're just gonna stick with that. I think that's good enough. And then the second product that I like to use is the Maybelline Superfluff Brow Mousse. And I have this in the shade Black Brown. And I love running this through my eyebrows because when I use my complexion products, the foundation, the powders, they kind of make my eyebrows look a little dull. And this just really helps to define the hairs. Okay, so I'm gonna wipe off the excess product back into the tube. And I'm going to brush this through the front half of my brows. And this is never flaky or clumpy, and it really helps to fill in some of the sparse patches in my eyebrows. And it just helps them to look a little bit more defined. Now it's time to move on to eyes. My most favorite eyeshadow palette in the entire world is the Natasha Denona My Mini Dream palette. And it looks so simple and so boring, but honestly, this is such a great palette. Okay, so I'm just gonna grab a fluffy brush and I'm gonna go into this shade right here. So I'm just gonna take my brush and I'm going to just sweep this all over my lid. I'm going to use a smaller brush and I'm going to run this on my lower lid. I'm going to grab like a flat paddle smudger brush and I'm going to go into this darker shade. And I'm going to pick some up on my brush and I'm going to run this on my upper lashes. And I'm really working that color into the roots of my lashes. And I'm just stopping right above where I can see the eyeshadow when I have my eye open. And then I'm just softly diffusing that color upwards. And these colors are just so easy to work with. Okay, so that is one eye done. And I'm gonna go back to that same fluffy brush that we used in the beginning, and I'm going to try to blend the two colors together. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to that same smudger brush and I'm gonna go back into that same color and I'm gonna run this on the outer third of my lower lashes. And then I'm gonna try to connect the lower lashes to the upper eyeshadow that I just applied. All right, so this is what we have for eyeshadow. And now I'm gonna take a smaller, fluffier brush and I'm gonna go into this middle shimmer shade. And I'm going to apply this shadow just above where I added that medium darker shade to the lighter shade that I added. So I'm just adding it to the middle. So I'm just going to gently sweep this over the eye. All right, so that's what we have so far. And that's pretty much it for this eyeshadow palette. So we're gonna add a bit of pizzazz to the eyelids, and I'm gonna go in with the Patrick Ta for Eyes Major Dimension Eye Illusion Eyeshadow Duo in Your Dreams. And I'm gonna go into the lighter shade here, and I'm gonna use my finger. And this is such an intensely glimmery eyeshadow. So I'm just gonna pop this on the middle portion of my eye. And I usually wear a pretty strong shimmery shade like this because I wear glasses like 99.99% of the time, and I feel like the glasses swallow up my eye. So sometimes I just want bolder looking makeup to really shine through the glasses, and this does not disappoint. And it just adds like a little bit of something extra special to the eyes. So yeah, I know that people think the Patrick Ta eyeshadows are expensive, but I honestly think the glitter eyeshadows are totally worth it. Okay, so I'm not quite completely done with the eyes yet. And I want to add a inner corner highlight. So I'm gonna go in with the Rare Beauty highlighter in Enlightened. And I love this highlighter as an inner corner highlight because it is blinding. And as a glasses wearer, this definitely helps to brighten up the inner corner when there's glasses covering your eyes. I don't like to use this highlighter as a regular highlighter on top of the cheeks. I find that it's a bit too strong, but as an inner corner and under the brow highlight, I really like it. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit to the brow bone. And then I like to sneak in a little bit on the tip of my nose. So that is the inner corner highlight done. And now we're gonna move on to lashes. And I have two mascaras, one for the top lashes and one for the bottom lashes. So for the top lashes, I'm gonna be using the Essence Lash Without Limits waterproof formula in Extreme Lengthening. And I wanted to give this a try because I normally have used the Maybelline Sky High mascara, but I find that this formula dries out really quickly and it's kind of pricey. It's like $15 at Walmart, and the Essence version looked suspiciously similar to the Maybelline one. So I thought I'd give it a try. And after a few times of wearing it, I really like it a lot. And so I think I just replaced my usual favorite with a new favorite. All right, so I'm gonna go in with my eyelash curler. And if you're wondering what eyelash curler I'm using the Shiseido eyelash curler. Okay, I think that's good enough. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with my first Essence mascara. And this is such a good product. It has not smudged or flaked on me. And it works just as well as the Maybelline Sky High mascara in waterproof. Okay, I'm just making sure that I really get into every single lash and coat them with the formula. So that is one lash done. Okay, so now I'm just gonna do the other side. Okay, so that is the eyes done with one coat of mascara each. And I'm gonna let that dry. And we're gonna move on to the second mascara, which is the Essence Lash Princess Slim Brush Long and Curl Mascara in waterproof. Now I picked this up because before I was using the telescopic waterproof mascara, and I really didn't want to spend another $20 to replace it. And one thing that I don't love about this brush is that it's a silicone brush and it holds a lot of product, but I mainly use this to get my bottom lashes, and I find that the brush globs on product and it's really hard to get it off, and then it becomes like a smudgy mess. Whereas this brush from Essence is more like a soft bristle brush, and it's really short and it doesn't hold as much product, and it's really good for separating the lashes. So I'm gonna start with the bottom lashes, outside going in. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go back in with the Lash Without Limits, and I'm gonna go over my upper lashes again. All right, so that is the mascara done. And yeah, these two mascaras are insanely good. If you haven't tried these mascaras out, I highly recommend them. I am blown away by these. These are like the find of the year for me so far. Okay, so the very last thing that we have left to do are the lips. And I'm a simple girl, so most of the time I don't usually wear a color on my lips. I find that my bare lip color is like good enough. Most of the time I use the Too Faced Pillow Balm Lip Treatment in Original. And this is so conditioning and so hydrating. I love using this as a lip mask. And I love how slightly mentholated it is. And I actually used this before I started filming, and it just made my lips so silky smooth and hydrated. And also, if I have really chapped lips, this is a fantastic product to really address that issue. So this is what it looks like. I just added a little bit more. And if I don't want anything mentholated on my lips, another lip product that I love using, which is so underrated, is the Rare Beauty Lip Butter. So it's in this squarish packaging right here. I just have this in Easygoing, which is their plain unscented shade. And I really do appreciate that it's unscented, and it's like super buttery on the lips too. But yeah, I just can't get enough of these two formulas. They are amazing. And this is the final look. I just love these products. They just make applying makeup so easy. And if I don't have the mental bandwidth to think about what I want to wear when I'm not testing makeup, these products guarantee a clean and long-lasting look. And if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. In the comments below, let me know what your Holy Grail products are. If you want more makeup-related content, don't forget to like and subscribe. And thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!